We are live on a Friday, and it is a big day for the Tennessee Titans. They will officially introduce their brand new general manager that will try to lead them to the promised land and eventually possibly get them a Super Bowl. That is Ran Carthon. And look, he's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, but they introduced him yesterday at the facility to all of the employees. We'll see some of that video. And then today, Sam, you will be live and in the flesh at his introductory press conference, and he'll be fielding questions. Mike Vrabel will be there. I assume Amy Adams-Strunk will be there. It will be a big day in franchise history. I've been a part of those when they introduce, new executives, and it is a new way of thinking. And Ran Carthon has a huge weight on his shoulders. We'll see what he's able to do with that new Titans general manager. We're going to ask you to come up with a question for Ran Carthon that you may feel that he needs to answer. So this is going to be a great exercise, as they say. We'll go to the chat. This is Power to the People today on this Friday, as our Titans reporter Sam Phelan is joining us. And so we'll ask you that question. Both Sam and I will also form a question for today's press conference. And then we'll get into, I think this is a great topic that Sam brought up yesterday that we want to talk about. Where do the Titans rank among the most attractive offensive coordinator job openings in the NFL? There are 10 different jobs that are available, and there's a lot to talk about. Where are the Titans? If you are a premier offensive coordinator, Todd Downing is out. Who is going to be in? So we're going to talk about that. And Ain't That Good News? Ain't That Good News on a Friday? We'll wrap up the week with Ain't That Good News. Sam, welcome in. Tell the fine folks at home what they need to do.
Well, before we get going this morning, make sure you share the show if you're watching us. It is a good day in Titans world today. Zach, I like what you mentioned, just the positive vibes around a new hire and the Ran Carthon hire specifically right now for Titans fans. It's got morale pretty high compared to where we were just a few weeks ago. So that is cause for celebration. That is cause to enjoy today's show. And it is cause to share today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and send the link to somebody. If you're watching on Facebook, just hit the share button. Get that on the feed of your friends. That's the best way to support, is by getting it out in front of as many people as possible. So do that for us before we get going this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's officially start the show. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I am Zach Bingham. He is our Titans reporter, Sam Phelan. And this is A to Z Sports Morning. We got to thank our title sponsor, BetMGM. And Sam, got exciting news. We just signed a brand new deal with BetMGM. Let it ride, baby. Let it ride. A to Z Sports across multi-platform. This is a big deal for A to Z Sports. We love BetMGM and our partnership with BetMGM. That is BetMGM. Download the app today in your Apple or Android store. They're our title sponsor and will continue to be here on the morning show. Also, our presenting sponsors. We love them just as much. Wilson County Hyundai, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Take a look at their inventory for your perfect make and model. Farm Bureau Health Plans. I've got Farm Bureau Health Plans. You should get Farm Bureau Health Plans at home. That's FBHP.com/A to Z. The Bone and Joint Institute, live there down in Franklin, state-of-the-art facility, and they got satellite locations across Middle Tennessee. That's the Bone and Joint Institute. And Hughes and Coleman, the official injury lawyer of the Tennessee Titans and the official injury lawyer of this Titans morning show as we talk Titans here on A to Z Sports. That's Hughes and Coleman. So, Sam, let's get it down to the nitty-gritty. More people are going to be piling in as we get this show started. But Sam Carthon gets introduced today. Let's get some initial feelings before there's some information that came out about the interview process, which was great. But Sam, you kind of excited? This is a new era of Titans football. You've covered the team for the last several months. You've gone through a lot of ups and downs with the Titans, as we all have, right? With the hot start at 7-3, the 7-game losing streak, DUI Downing, the firing of Todd Downing, and then, John Robinson getting canned in the middle of the season, and then ultimately the Titans not making the playoffs. Is this kind of an exciting day? Kind of as a reporter, as you get a new guy into the building that could impact this franchise in a big way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned it's exciting for the fans. It's exciting for us too, right? I mean, it's so hard not to be optimistic and romantic and just be feeling good about yourself when you bring in a new executive and this new era, like you mentioned, Zach. But on top of it, Ran Carthon's resume in San Francisco, I think, is really, really appealing and really exciting. Titans fans watching the NFL playoffs this past weekend, if you watched what the San Francisco 49ers are doing, sticking Mr. Irrelevant into a game and the rest of the season, and they haven't lost with Brock Purdy under center for them right now, but it's because of their defense, because of their weapons, because of their depth, and you've seen how they've kind of built this stable success over the years. Ran Carthon had a big, big part of that. And you're jealous, right? You're watching it. You're envious of that's a fun team to cover. That's a fun team to root for. That would be a fun playoff atmosphere to have. And now there is a light at the end of the tunnel for Titans fans of maybe that can be where the Titans are by the time, this new stadium rolls around here 3-4 years from now. Maybe you are one of those elite franchises that are successful year in and year out. And that is where we're still in that honeymoon phase, right? A year from now, people might be critical of Ran Carthon. People might be critical of Mike Vrabel like they were at the end of this season. It's honeymoon right now, Zach. It's all good. We're all happy.
Yeah, well, and I think the one point that you brought up about the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers have been very good at advancing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've consistently advanced. They haven't made the Super Bowl every year, but they took last year a wild card spot and ran it all the way to a 3-point NFC championship loss, right? The Titans had one single run in 2019 that got them to the AFC title game, in which they lost to the Chiefs. And after that, they have failed to advance. This year, they've failed to even make the tournament, right? So that's something that Ran Carthon can come in there and try to help the Titans be a consistent team that advances in the playoffs, something that has eluded them. And one thing that we found out yesterday, and we're still trying to find, and this is the hard part prior to the introductory press conference that will happen at high noon today, and you will be live there in the flesh at St. Thomas Sports Park. But we were trying to figure out how all this came to fruition. How are the interviews conducted? How did the decision come down to, calling Ran Carthon and saying, hey, you got the job? And something that we found out yesterday, actually on 104.5 The Zone and 3HL, which I find pretty interesting, and that was Burke Nihill, Titans president and CEO, said Mike Vrabel was a part of all the second interviews the Titans conducted with GM candidates. So that was some inside information that we did not know prior, but that's Mike Vrabel being involved. And let's go back to another old graphic that we used that now comes up, and that's Amy Adams Strunk's, when she was going through the process of what the search is going to be, collaboration, over and over and over again. And Burke Nihill, president and CEO of the Titans, yesterday on 104.5 The Zone on 3HL, confirmed that there was some collaboration. What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. That's what Mike Vrabel had been saying at the year-end press conference. He had said that he expects to be a part of the second round of interviews after ownership did their initial process. But I think everybody was a little confused with the timeline because it felt like things moved fast. We get a report that Ian Cunningham had received a second interview, Ran Carthon had received a second interview with the Titans, and they were just completing their first interview with Malik Boyd from Buffalo. And all of a sudden, we've got ourselves a general manager and they've made the hire. So it felt like it moved fast. And there was kind of was Mike involved? Was he not involved? But it's good to know they got the head coach involved. There's clearly something that both Amy Adams Strunk and Mike Vrabel connected with, agreed with, had a similar vision with Ran Carthon, and that is why he's the general manager. They want to be unified. They want to be collaborative, as you pointed out, moving forward. And if they feel like they are all in sync with one another, that's a big reason why he was the leading candidate. So not a huge surprise to me, but again, very encouraging because we have gotten this feeling over the past month, 2 months, that Mike Vrabel and John Robinson might not have always been on the same page, might not have always agreed with some of the major personnel decisions that were made by this franchise within the last calendar year. And I think it's what caused their working relationship to grow a little bit more strained, and what ultimately caused John Robinson to lose his job and for Amy Adams Strunk to elect to reinvest in Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, well, there's a good question from Kendall to start off, and we're going to try to create a good question here in a second with the chat, because I think this is going to be a fun show, and I'm very intrigued to see what the chat comes up with when we ask that question. But Kendall says, how long does it usually take GMs to be effective and evaluated? This, I think, is a really good question, right? And so what I did, Kendall, I saw your question. Let's just go across the United States to the West Coast. Let's go to the Bay Area, and let's see about John Lynch. John Lynch, the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, he was hired in 2017. In 2017, the 49ers were 6-10. That was a 16-game schedule still, right? After that, in 2018, they were 4-12. And we also understand that there's Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt. That's how they drafted Nick Bosa eventually. And so you're sitting there 2 years in, they still have a losing record, but year 3, 2019, they lost in the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. They were 13-3. Then in 2020, they were 6-10 due to injury. As we talked about that, they were dealing with Nick Mullins for a lot of the year. 2021, 10-7. 2022, 13-4. And the big thing is what I said is, they got to the playoffs and advanced.
Yeah.
Like when they got there, they did well. So there's a 3-year period of where John Lynch started to where they are, and then the consistency after. They had that year in between where they had to deal with Nick Mullins because of Garoppolo's injury. But other than that, and then they drafted Trey Lance, and here they are. But they drafted a lot of really good players from 2017 till present day.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you inherit, right? There's general managers that come in kind of at the height of a rebuild, and you're able to turn it around a little bit quicker. Some GMs have to come in, tear it down themselves, and then rebuild it back up. And then that takes a little bit longer of a process. I mean, you're talking about recently hired GMs. Let's look at the general manager of the worst team in the NFL this past year, Ryan Poles, the first-year GM of the Chicago Bears. People love him in Chicago, and people overall think he's doing a good job. You look at the record, you're like, well, 3-14, that stinks. They're probably not going to be great next year either, but it was a gradual process depending on cap space, roster talent, roster sustainability, the age of a lot of your better players on the team. So it all kind of depends what you inherit, but I agree with that window, right? Like 3 years of drafting good players is going to result in many years of sustained success and of being at the top of the league. So,
and 3 years of free agency, right?
Right. And that's what John Lynch has done. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what the NFL is today. And you say, the Bears, they were selling a certain bill of goods to their fans of what the state of their franchise is. They were kind of like the Titans in 2013, 2014, 2015, right around that area of they're rebuilding from 3 wins to try to get to 9 wins, right? The Titans are right around that 7, 8, 9 win, trying to get to 13 and 14 wins,
right,
and solidify them as contenders in the AFC. So, that's eye-opening to see exactly what Ran Carthon can come in there and do. And this is a very cool video, Sam, because this video embodies, I'll be honest, I kind of got a little chills after watching this video yesterday when it was released on social media, because I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is Ran Carthon walking in the building for the first time, and it's a big job. It's a big deal. He flew on a private jet, Amy's jet, to get there, got off the tarmac, drove probably in a private vehicle to St. Thomas Sports Park, and walked in the front door. We're going to show you that video here in just a second. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. Ran Carthon's got to figure out the Titans injuries, right? You may have to figure out your own injuries, whether you've turned an ankle on the stairs playing with your kids, You may have tripped over a toy. Who knows? You may have had an old injury from back in the day, playing ball in college or high school that just hasn't gotten better. Well, you need to go seek a specialist. And one specialist that you need to go to is at the Bone and Joint Institute. They are trusted by A to Z Sports. They're trusted personally by me. I've gotten my shoulder fixed by one of the doctors. They're Dr. Thomas right there at the Bone and Joint Institute. Don't fumble on your recovery. They've got a state-of-the-art facility down there in Franklin. We've broadcasted live there and satellite locations all throughout Middle Tennessee. That's the Bone and Joint Institute.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. We are so excited to have signed a new deal with them. And Zach, I'm really excited because last weekend we talked about it on the show. We talked about it Monday. I said I had that parlay going on the NFL wildcard weekend that was riding on the Dallas Cowboys. I did not hedge. I did not cash out. I stuck to my guns. And the Cowboys came through for me and the parlay hit. So we're happy about that.
That was 10 that turned into what, $100?
Yeah, over that. It was like a $10 payout, 140 kind of parlay. It was a nice little weekend.
Sam's paying for lunch. Screw all this lunch money that we've been getting. There you go.
It had been a long time coming. I'll say that much. I was in a bit of a cold spell, so I'll take it. But regardless, I'm happy about that, and you'll be happy too using BetMGM. You can sign up using code ATOZ200, A to Z 200 on the BetMGM app. Place a $10 pregame wager on any pro football team to win, and that first bet gets you $200 as long as there's a touchdown scored in the game. It doesn't matter whether your bet hits or not. If your bet hits, that's just extra. That's a little bonus money for you. $200 in your account if a touchdown is scored in the game with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, let's watch this video. Ran Carthon walking into the Titans facility, and watch and soak in this welcome. It's pretty awesome. There you go.
That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, I mean, that shows the level of excitement that fans feel, that media feels, that everybody's feeling. That same feeling is in that Titans building nowadays. I think that shows it right there. I don't know if that's like common or not, if teams do that every time a new GM gets hired, but I thought that was pretty special. And like you said, it made me want to run through a brick wall a little bit. I was like, okay, Ran, we see you. A good first day on the job. Excited to talk to him today and get introduced to him to the media for the first time.
Yeah, and Jared, I did laugh at T-Rack because of his tongue. His tongue sticking out because it's constantly sticking out. And then our girl Liz, this is Twitter at its finest, saying that Mike Vrabel was either the cameraman or dressed as T-Rack, that's a Twitter thing. But I do think honestly, on a serious note, on a higher level note, the NFL for the last several years has been criticized for the lack of minority executives and ownership, obviously, and head coaches that is a part of this multi-billion-dollar business that is the National Football League. And it is special to see a man of color walk in that door and everybody praise him for what he has been able to accomplish up until that point and what he can do for this franchise. There is a bigger, more powerful message within that. And I know Ran Carthon knew that. And I felt like everybody else in that building felt the same way.
No, absolutely. Very well put by you. just really powerful. And I think that's what makes that video so powerful, to have somebody so well admired within that building already, so well deserving of the position and the hard work he's put in since his NFL playing days, to now rise the ranks and hold a dream position really for him. I thought the video too of Amy Adams Strunk on the phone with Ran, talking to him, offering him the job, was also pretty cool to see that come to fruition. So yeah, just all around good vibes for Ran, for what it says about football and the state of football in today's society, for what it says about the organization and where the Tennessee Titans are going and where this fan base is going. It's just really, really cool, and a cause for celebration. So glad to see that everybody in the building took that seriously and celebrated appropriately.
Yeah, I want to say this, and then we're going to ask you guys to form a question for us. He earned that job. They did their due diligence. They interviewed a lot of guys, in-house candidates, outside of house candidates, multiple interviews. This wasn't one of those Mike Mularkey jobs, right? That interim turns head coach, and really any interview that you were giving didn't really matter. They had their guy. This was a different circumstance. And so I do think that there's value that this job was earned, not given, too.
Which is all you can ask for out of the process, right? It's do your due diligence, interview all the top candidates, and whoever you feel is best and most aligned with your vision, go hire them. But Titans fans are obviously sick of the promoting from within, whether it's general manager, offensive coordinator, whatever. Like, hiring Ryan Cowden, not a knock against Ryan Cowden, would have probably left Titans fans a little underwhelmed by the new general manager, given the fact that he had been here in the previous regime. And it's nice to see and refreshing to see they went out, they interviewed the very best, they found the very best, and now they're being applauded for it league-wide. I see a couple of you in the chat asking where you can find, Jared says that, where can you see the video? That's on the Titans Twitter account of Amy Adams Strunk on the phone offering Ran Carthon the general manager job, and his reaction kind of live. It was another very cool video to kind of see how that process went down and see a man's dreams come true in a lot of ways. It was pretty sweet. So
yeah. All right, Sam, you're going to be there today. You're going to actually, this is the cool thing is that you're going to be able to pay this off. However, you are going to formulate your question. Well, let's come up with let's help Sam, guys. Let's help Sam give some ideas. What's one question you would ask Ran Carthon in his introductory press conference today at noon if you could? What's one question you, as an individual in the chat, would ask Ran Carthon in his introductory press conference today? We want to know in the chat. Let us know. Those messages and those questions will be piling in. And while those are piling in, I am going to tell the fine folks about Farm Bureau Health Plans, fbhp.com/A to Z. I changed my health plan in 2022, and I'm glad that I did. I've carried on over to 2023. Farm Bureau Health Plans loves A to Z, and A to Z loves Farm Bureau Health Plans. I am an endorser because I use the product, and I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And when I say that they have better coverage, better rates, and better service, that's exactly what they provide. 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee, health, dental, and vision. That's fbhp.com/A to Z.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, and BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks for good reason. You sign up today with BetMGM using the sign-up code ATOZ200, and a $10 pregame wager on any pro football team to win is paid out with $200 as long as there is a touchdown scored in that game. It doesn't matter whether your bet hits or doesn't hit. $10, that's all it takes on a pro football team to win this divisional weekend. $200 if a touchdown is scored. So make sure you use that sign-up code ATOZ200 on the BetMGM app.
All right, there you go. Here's our question. What's one question you would ask Ran Carthon in his introductory press conference? And Jared starts off saying, ask Ran how confident he is that he can improve the team in early rounds of the draft. We've heard how good he is in the late rounds. So there you go. That's a good one from Jared right there. Ask him if he's going to cut Tannehill and Bobby, please. for Tannehill, I definitely think Tannehill will be a topic, right? Are you going to rebuild or retool? Will from Tennessee. I think that is a good one. Valentino says, what's your ring size? That's also a good question.
I like that one.
How do you plan to address the injuries that have plagued this team? That's also a good one. Nick has a question about Dennis Daly working at McDonald's. I don't think that's going to be asked, but Dennis Daly needs to be addressed. Is it more impactful to build through free agency or the draft from tall Texans? What are your realistic expectations on the Super Bowl timeline? How can you get this team back quickly to the conference championship game from Stephen King? So there's a ton of good questions. Orlando, what do you think of this team as currently constructed? So Orlando kind of asking Ran to diagnose what this is. Reform.
Yeah.
How do you define success? That is a really good question. I'm going to ask you, Sam, how do you define the Titan success?
I think my definition of success is probably different from what Ran Carthon would say. I think any executive should be telling you Super Bowls are success. That's why you're in the business. My goal for Ran Carthon and the Titans would be to reach that point that we talked about where you're one of the best run organizations and consistently successful organizations that makes the playoffs, advances in the playoffs with regularity, and can always be considered a threat to win it all. And that it's not just a 2 or 3 year window, that it is we've been talking about the obviously New England Patriots, but now the Buffalo Bills are going on year 4. The Kansas City Chiefs are in year 6 or 7. The Baltimore Ravens have been doing it for a very, very long time. There are franchises in this league that you just know are going to be there in January and you're not going to want to play them. That's where I want the Titans to be. I just want them to be a regular team that comes up in every topic of conversation preseason when you're talking about, all right, who's going to hoist the Lombardi this year? That would be a successful turnaround for me.
So we've had some really good questions, and Sam, I think that that's an outstanding answer. I think that how do you become a threat?
Yeah.
That's the answer. The Tennessee Titans have got to become a threat in the AFC. Look, you gotta crawl before you walk, you gotta walk before you run. You can't just all of a sudden snap your fingers and compete with Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. But all 3 of those teams are a threat. The Jacksonville Jaguars are not a threat yet, right? They're just not. The LA Chargers are not a threat yet. They're just not.
Notice what you said about the 49ers earlier, a team that has consistently advanced. Their last 3 times in the playoffs, they've won at least 2 playoff games. Maybe they do it again this year, depending on what they do this weekend. Every year, regardless of who's at quarterback, you look at Kyle Shanahan, you look at some of the pieces they have on both sides of the ball, and you just say, the Niners are going to be there in January, and you don't want to play them, and they're dangerous, and they can beat anybody. And that's what they built that franchise to over the last 5 years, where that is a sustainable wagon right now, right? And it's the difference between going from that playoff team, that 2021 1 seed, 2019 9-7 playoff team, to how do we become the team nobody wants to play? And I like that word, threat, the Super Bowl contender year in. And that's not saying you win them. That's not saying you go. It's not saying you have a dynasty, but you want to have a good 5 to 10 year window of they're dangerous each and every year.
So there's still some really good questions rolling in that I want to read. MB says, what's his outside view of the team and where does he feel it needs to grow the most? How important is it to have great communication with your staff? Can't believe 74 says, my only question is, are you going to truly work with Mike Vrabel and not try to overpower him? And I think there's a back and forth there, right? I think that is a huge part of what's going to happen over the next several years as Mike Vrabel is going to continue to be head coach and Ran Carthon's going to come in there and he's going to have to work with Vrabel. Vrabel also is notoriously, he likes it his way, right? He's the guy who's been in the building. And so he knows the problems. Ran Carthon's coming in to try to solve some of the problems. How are they going to work cohesively as a team and pick the right players? Because, Sam, let's face it, they haven't picked the right players in a very long time on a consistent basis. And the players that they did pick, unfortunately, they traded one of the best ones away. That's why the general manager who was picking the players is no longer picking the players.
Yeah, I mean, they hit a wall, right? They hit a wall that, we've talked about, for a while, really, since John Robinson got fired. They got to that right on the cusp of Super Bowl contention and then just flopped on too many picks, too many players, too many trades, too many signings. And they've kind of bottomed out since then to the point where they didn't make the playoffs this last season. So Ran Carthon's job is collaborate with Mike Vrabel, identify the right people, be on the same page, and take them to that next level. How do you take the next step? You have to have consistency. It can't be 1 year of good picks. It can't be one good draft class. It can't be one good signing. It has to be 2, 3, 4 years of just solid acquisitions of a high hit rate. And that is how you create depth within the organization that translates to on the field wins.
All right, Sam. So I'm very curious about, I've got a couple of questions, right, that I would ask, but you got to just narrow it down to one. You're going to be in that room today at noon at St. Thomas Sports Park when they introduce Ran Carthon as brand new general manager of the Tennessee Titans. What's one question that you want to ask him?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple as well, but my main question for Ran Carthon, because I think it's a question that might give us some insight into a few of the unanswerable questions, right? Like, you can't say, well, is Ryan Tannehill going to be your quarterback, and expect Ran Carthon to have an answer right now. But this is a question I think we can figure out some of those answers through how Ran Carthon responds to this. What do you want the identity of a Ran Carthon Titans team to be? I think it's an interesting question because under John Robinson, under Mike Vrabel, we have seen the run first, play good defense, play through Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's fine at quarterback. They didn't prioritize weapons at wide receiver and guys that can stretch the field. They've played one style of football. They've run the ball on first down more than any other team in the NFL since Mike Vrabel arrived there, where teams like the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills throw the ball on first down early on. So, of course, those teams have the quarterback to do so. But I'm curious to how Ran will answer this question because I think it tells you, what does he prioritize? Is he going to be defense first in building his roster? Is he going to say, well, I want it to be led by the quarterback. I want us to be efficient passing the football. Is he sticking with this ground first game? What the identity of his team is and the makeup of his team, I think will tell us a lot about the direction he plans to take the Titans in the near years. So that is going to be one of the questions I hope to get into him today.
No, I think it's a really good question. I have two questions. One, and it's tough because I don't know how Ran Carthon answers questions. I've asked a question to Bill Belichick before, and he answered exactly how you would think Bill Belichick would answer. And it was, he's an athletic quarterback, so we're gonna try to get him down. That's it, right?
Yeah.
So how he's going to answer some questions, I do think is telling. He doesn't tweet a lot. He's not on social media. I don't think he's tweeted since 2001 or 2021, excuse me. So I want to know really two things. I think my first question that I really want to know is, what's the future of Derrick Henry within this franchise? He is still going to be the integral part and the face of this franchise that defines this offense? That's what I want to know. Now, I don't know if he's going to answer that question.
No.
But that's what I want to know, because that tells me, are you going to go get new players to help Derrick Henry, or are you going to go get new players to replace Derrick Henry? That's what I want to know. If there's one thing, it's that.
Yeah.
But I put on my reporter hat again. I've been in press conferences for numerous years, covering the team for over 10. I would ask him something of this nature. in San Francisco as a non-decision maker, what were some things that you thought the 49ers decided on that you agreed with? And what were some things that you disagreed with that you would do differently that now you can implement, that you have the decision-making power as the Tennessee Titans general manager?
That's interesting. That isn't right, because it's always hard to assess general managers, I guess, because of the reasons that we've said. Like, he had an integral, like a huge part in building this roster, but at the end of the day, he was not the decision maker when it came down to a lot of these moves. That was John Lynch. That was Adam Peters. It was a couple of these other peoples within that front office. So yeah, how would Rand do things differently from maybe John Lynch's regime? What does that tell us about what he learned and what are kind of his own philosophies that I think also go along with what I said, where it might give you some insight into what the future of this team could look like with him now having that saying power. So,
well, and when you form questions, I was taught how to ask questions to players when I did an internship with Titans Radio when I was like 22 years old. So there is a way to form a question. So it's not a yes or no, right? Because if you catch a player or a coach on a bad day, they're going to take the yes or no option. They're just going to, right? Because it's how you form it. And so in this situation, this is kind of my thought process behind forming a question. You take something that he is familiar with, which was his time in San Francisco, and give him the ability to complement and also assess his experience. He can do that. If he chooses to do it, he can do it. He can answer that question. Yeah. You can also say, well, there's always a way to deflect. Well, hey, that was my time then. I'm concentrated on the future. I'm concentrated on what I'm trying to do. But in these type of press conferences, he's probably going to be more open and honest and want to answer those type of questions. But I would want to know, what would you have done differently? Because you weren't making the decisions. John Lynch was.
Yeah.
And, here's another question. I mean, I got tons of questions, but, another question is, how did you see John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan work together that you can then take and apply to your relationship with Mike Vrabel?
That's a really, really good question. I think also, we mentioned the collaboration part. It's important. We played this video. I don't know if we still have it up and ready to go here, of Ran Carthon kind of explaining what his job was when he was in pro personnel for the 49ers. He mentioned something kind of similar to that, where he was like, my job is to look at players around the league and find the guys that are on the waiver wire, on the free agent market, scout them, and then go to our coaches and say, here's why I think this guy has a fit with the 49ers, and try and pick where guys have a role and which guys do not have a role. So he has some experience doing that sort of, do your assessment, do your grade, now work in with your head coach and with your coaching staff on figuring out how you can implement him to this roster. I think that is some experience that could have made a major contribution to Mike Vrabel wanting to work with him, Amy Adams Strunk wanting to hire him. And I might add that to my list there, Zach, of knowing how important that is to this franchise. How has he seen that done with a well-operated organization in San Francisco?
Right. We're all working as a team today, right? This is what this exercise is about, is to try to find good questions. And then this won't be the only time that Ran Carthon talks and speaks. So there's plenty of opportunity to get these in. But yeah, it's kind of making me want to, if I didn't have, back-to-back meetings after this show, I would
get you in the room.
Maybe put back in the saddle. I hadn't been back to St. Thomas Sports Park in some time, been doing other things with A to Z. So, but yeah, it kind of gets me excited about these, because it is a big deal and a big day for the franchise as they, introduce a new face of the franchise to try to pick and select even more new faces of the franchise. So that's the first domino. The first domino is head coach. All right, well, there's more dominoes to come. You got to figure out what you're going to do with your roster. You got to figure out what you're going to do with a lot of different things, including the offensive coordinator. And what we're going to do, we're going to see all 10 teams, all 10 of them that need an offensive coordinator, and we're going to find where the Titans rank and reside within that 10 on place of job. Like, would you like to go to the Titans? Is that a good job? Is it a bad job compared to some of these? Because there's some good, talented offensive coordinators on the open market. Who the Titans going to get? So we will go through that. We'll show you all 10 teams, and we'll ask you guys to rank them. But first, Sam, tell the fine folks all about the official injury lawyer of the Tennessee Titans.
Yep, you talked about it. Hughes and Coleman, they are the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you have been injured in a car wreck, you need to call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation. Their phone number, pretty easy to remember, 800-800-4600. Keep that in the brain because they have those resources to go and fight the big insurance companies, get you every dollar of compensation that you deserve. So use their resources, use their assistance. Hughes and Coleman has recovered over $1 billion, billion with a B, for their clients in Tennessee and Kentucky over the last 30 years. So get that free case consultation. That's 800-800-4600. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, Principal Office, Nashville, Tennessee.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. We love BetMGM. We ride and die with BetMGM. And this weekend, you can get in a lot of action on BetMGM. ATOZ Sports right there on the screen. You can do that, or you can do ATOZ 200, because when you sign up as a new user with ATOZ 200, you place a $10 pregame wager on any pro football team to win with your first bet, and you get $200 when any touchdown is scored in the game, regardless of the bet's outcome. So 10 into 200. Sign up today with ATOZ 200 with BetMGM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years or older in Tennessee. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued on not withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days. From assurance for problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. All right, Sam.
I got something real quick for you, Zach, here, because Johnny's asking an important question. We forgot to mention this. No, A to Z will not be showing the press conference live. That is at noon. The Titans will be broadcasting it live, but I will be live around 1:30, between 1 and 1:30 p.m. after the press conference wraps. I will be going live from St. Thomas Sports Park on A to Z Sports, talking with you guys, recapping my biggest takeaways from Ran Carthon's press conference, answering any questions you guys might have of my takeaways or what was said, what the talking points are, and what the vibes are around the Titans after hearing the new GM speak for the first time. So we will be going live. Look out for that between 1:30. Kind of depends how long the press conference goes this afternoon. But I will be live from St. Thomas Sports Park. Make sure you join me for that after the press conference wraps.
The promo king right there. I love it. You got to sell it for the fine folks at home to listen and watch. So Sam, I'm going to let you take the driver's seat here because you brought this topic up, which I do think is a very good topic, of all of the offensive coordinators, the openings, and the guys that are on the open market. There's a lot of teams that need OCs.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as cut and dry as find the best candidate, hire the best candidate, because these guys have options this offseason. It has been kind of a bad offseason to be an offensive coordinator right now. Currently 10 openings. You take a look at them here from Adam Schefter on Twitter. The Ravens, Buccaneers, Chargers, Commanders, Titans, Rams, Jets, Patriots, Colts, and Cardinals. 10 teams with offensive coordinator openings right now. And we are asking a very important question. When you look at that list, when you are Ran Carthon or Mike Vrabel and you find the candidate, can you get the candidate to choose you? And our question, Zach, where do the Titans rank among these 10 teams? So take another look at them. It is the Ravens, Buccaneers, Chargers, Commanders, Titans, Rams, Jets, Patriots, Colts, and Cardinals. Are the Titans a desirable job in that market with that many teams needing an offensive coordinator? And where do they rank among the openings and the vacancies?
So, how I go about a list that long, right? Because you got 10 teams, is who would I eliminate and who would I automatically put above the Tennessee Titans? Well, I would automatically put above the Tennessee Titans teams with quarterbacks. So the Rams and the Chargers, the two teams in LA, Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford, those were better jobs than the Tennessee Titans, right? I think we can all agree.
Well, I think on weapons too, right? It's like Cooper Kupp, there's a premium wide receiver. That makes it pretty fun to be an offensive coordinator over there. So yeah, I would say that. And we'll go through the list here. Let's see. We got a lot of people. I'll say this, Zach. People are coming in a little bit more optimistic than I think I am, and maybe other people are. Xavier says they are 3. Steven says they're top 3. Jared says 7th. Chad says 4th. Stacy says I say number 4. This is interesting. So here's the question. Keep flooding in your answers as we talk about it here. But where do the Titans rank among the most attractive OC openings out of 10? There are 10 jobs available for an offensive coordinator right now. What job are they? I think quarterback is something that you have to discuss, Zach. I think, the state of the rest of the roster, how competitive of a team are they overall? I think weapons is another thing that you have to consider of offensive line. Something that you have to consider, like Todd Downing was not a good offensive coordinator, but his job was not made any easier by the Titans O-line and the Titans' lack of weapons downfield, their ability to stretch the field. So you have to start assessing where somebody would want to go, what tools in the toolbox there are for an OC to play with.
So here's how I'm going to go about this. I think the Rams and Chargers are above the Titans. The Ravens are unique because if in fact that Lamar Jackson is not on the team, that job is less desirable, right? So that's tough. Yeah. I actually think that the Commanders' job is more desirable because you got Terry McLaurin, you've got a good offensive line, you got a good running game, and Dotson, who you just drafted last year, who was really good this year when he was healthy. So there's 3 above the Titans. I'm eliminating the Cardinals. The Colts are intriguing because they're going to draft a quarterback. So maybe you have a young quarterback to work with to give some grace, right? But are you going to be dealing with Will Levis? Or are you going to be dealing with CJ Stroud? Or are you going to be dealing with Bryce Young? I mean, that's all up in the air for the Colts. The Patriots, I think
that's a good job. That is a good job with that offensive line, coaching under Bill Belichick. I mean, Mac Jones is underwhelming, but it's the New England Patriots, and you join the Bill Belichick coaching tree. It's desirable.
So there's 4. I think there's too many question marks with the Jets and the Ravens and the Cardinals. So I'm between 5 and 6 right now for the Tennessee Titans and the Bucs. There's too many question marks in Tampa of what the hell is going to happen down there. And they have a good team, but if Kyle Trask is going to be the quarterback, they're not going to have a good team.
I think the Jets are a significantly better job. I would have them in the top 1 or 2.
But who are you working with? Are you working with Mike White and Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco?
I think the thing the Jets have that the Titans don't, they don't have a quarterback. We know they don't have a quarterback, but we know they're going to get one. And they have the cap space to maneuver.
Do we? Do you know that they're going to get one?
I feel like you have to, right? Like they're going to.
The Jets make some boneheaded decisions. That's
true. They are the Jets. They have a history of this. But
they also said they're going to keep Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson blows.
You have a elite young wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Your offensive line is great. Your defense is great. You're probably one weapon and a quarterback away. I think they have the cap space to maneuver it. And they're in their franchise is in a unique position where the Titans are in a tough spot because you don't have O-line certainty. You don't have quarterback certainty, and you don't have the cap space or high draft pick to necessarily fix that, right? I do think the Colts are a better job only because the Colts are going to end up with one of the top young quarterbacks, regardless of the rest of the crap that's going on in Indy and having to deal with Jim Irsay and the dumpster fire that is that roster right now.
But I think right now they don't have a head coach.
Right. Right.
So I have to now then we're asking the question January 20th on Friday. they don't have a head coach. So you can't want to be a part of that. The Titans have the leg up because they have a head coach. So I move the Colts down.
You think just having a head coach? See, I feel like
you got to know who you're working for.
But if I'm an OC, I feel like you want to know who you're working with more than who you're working for.
Well, you're working for Jim Irsay, and you're working for the head coach.
You're also working with one of the top young quarterbacks in the game, regardless of who they draft. They're going to pick a quarterback at 4 or move up and get one at number 1 overall. And if you're an offensive coordinator, that's fun. That's attractive. That's what you want. You want the QB. You want the young QB that you can grow and build with. The Titans don't have that. The Colts are in a unique position to hire somebody who does have that.
I'm at 5. The Titans are the 5th.
I put them above Washington. I disagree with you on Washington. I think you mentioned working for Jim Irsay. How about working for Dan Snyder when that team's getting sold within the next 2 years?
But Ron Rivera stabilizes that.
Does he?
You don't know who stabilizes Jim Irsay. Ron Rivera is a great head coach. He's well respected, and he's been to a Super Bowl. Like he's been.
But the thing with Washington, they're getting sold. There's no job security. Like Washington, if they sell the team, they're probably overhauling the staff regardless. So
if they sell the team, Dan Snyder, you have no idea if that guy's going to sell the team. It could be all just a circus, right? So you've just got to go as such. The Commanders were a Titans win away from making the playoffs.
Well, hang on. Well, here's my question then, because you said the Titans you would take the Commanders job over the Titans job, but you had the Jets below the Titans. I think those are two pretty similar situations with both of them having really, really strong defenses. They were both on the cusp of playoff contention. The quarterback situation is a mess. They've got some good young weapons in place with an offensive line. I just think the Jets at this point are probably in a better spot because of ownership to turn
Woody
that around. So what
separates
those two for you?
Well, look at the history, right? You're not trying to resurrect a franchise. The Commanders have been in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs 3 years ago.
I mean, that's kind of fun resurrecting the Jets are not far away. They're not the old Jets. They were a 1 win away from the playoffs, like you said.
What division are the Jets in?
They're in a tough division. Like, that's true. But, I don't know what's going on in Miami. New England, they were more competitive than New England this year for most of the year until the wheels fell off with some injuries.
And here's another thing. And this is where I think the Commanders get the nod versus the Jets if we're talking about this. You're not in a New York market. Those New York, they'll cut you with a pizza slice. They'll cut you faster than anything. If you start messing up and you're fired. So you're fired, you're done. It's New York, so that's another thing that is a deterrent. And you're not playing for the Giants, like an established franchise. You're playing for the Jets. What, Fireman Ed's going to be?
None of these teams have Corey Davis, Zach, and the Jets do.
Yeah, that's the other reason why I'm not picking the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets have Corey Davis.
Davis.
Shout out to Nate here saying, say they're more attractive because of the Jets, and see what Zach.
There's my other. That's my reason. There's my reason is I'm not going to the Jets because Corey Davis, who you're paying $9 million to per year, he's basically a bank robber like Bobby Please, and all of a sudden. You got Corey Davis and he's not on the field. So I'm out on the Jets. I stand by that. The Titans are the 5th best job out of the 10.
I think they might be a few spots further down on that list for me, but it is interesting because Mike Vrabel is Mike Vrabel, and who doesn't want to work for Mike Vrabel, especially when he's put 2 of his last 3 offensive coordinators into head coaching spots in the NFL. But it's hard to be an offensive coordinator going into a spot when you don't know who your quarterback is or the direction of the QB position, and you don't have an offensive line to protect him. And you really have 2 weapons that are young and explosive and Chig and Treylon Burks to build around, but neither one of those guys have ascended to the elite level that they certainly could be at yet. And a lot of these other teams on the list, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Patriots, I think the Indianapolis Colts, once they get one of those quarterbacks, the Rams, the Bucks, if Tom Brady stays, even if he doesn't stay, you still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And There are question marks that I think will, like, obviously if the Bucks tear it down, that becomes a different situation, and what the Ravens do with Lamar Jackson, different things like that. But it'll be interesting to see where how things play out and where the Titans go at OC and whether or not they're able to land the very best. Matt Nagy, who's coming to the Titans? I don't know.
Matt Nagy, you know something about Matt Nagy?
I do know something about Matt Nagy. Well, I want it to happen. I want to speak to him. So
you want to have words with Nagy?
Yeah, no, I actually do like Matt Nagy a lot. Good guy.
Well, look, that's things are starting to fall in place. Today at noon, as Sam said, Ran Carthon will have his introductory Titans press conference. After that, Sam will go live right here on A to Z Sports. So make sure your live notifications are on YouTube and Facebook. We'll tweet that out. We got you covered. Sam will live react. That's what we do here at A to Z Sports as a digital media company. We thank everybody who is subscribed. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube or have liked Facebook or Twitter or any of our socials. So we've got you covered with the coverage there. Ain't That Good News is up next. I've got weird news. It's not good news. It's weird news. Maybe good news for somebody. And it actually goes right into the conversation that we were just having. So weird good news on a Friday. We'll get to that. But I do want to tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai. That's wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Look at their inventory online. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. That's I-40 exit 236, a quick trip down I-40. They can help you, and they can help you in many different ways because they've got many different makes and models, whether it is the Palisade, third row seating, full-size SUV. They also have the Sonata, the Elantra, the Tucson, the Santa Fe. Man, they are dynamic, and you've just got to find your perfect Hyundai. Payne Bone, who owns Wilson County Hyundai, family-owned and operated. Tell them A to Z Sports sent you, and they'll hook you up. That's wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Last time we got to talk about it today. I love BetMGM. And I'm especially loving BetMGM after last weekend. You'll love BetMGM too when you use the sign-up code ATOZ200, because if you use that sign-up code, you place a $10 bet on any pro football team to win their game this weekend. BetMGM's giving you $200 as long as there is a touchdown scored in that game, regardless of whether or not your bet hits. You still get the $200. So use that sign-up code ATOZ200. Place a $10 pregame wager on any pro football team to win with your first bet, and $200 goes into your account when there's a touchdown scored in the game, regardless of your bet's outcome. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks.
All right, let's get to it. Ain't that good news on a Friday? Man, it has been a long week. And it's not over yet, don't get me wrong. But we've got Ran Carthon's introductory press conference this afternoon at noon, so just a couple hours away. Denise starts it off. Good news, Ran is the start of the future. Ran the man, as they say. Nick Ewing says good news, went back to his alma mater Tuesday to watch Kansas State beat those evil KU Chicken Hawks. Talking about the Jayhawks.
That was a fun game. That was a very, very fun game through a TV screen. Must have been electric to be there in person.
And Nick got to take his dad too, which is always awesome. And speaking of dad, Stacy says my good news is that my dad will be celebrating his 80th birthday this weekend. So Stacy, happy 80th birthday to your father. That is an accomplishment. And every time you get into the 80s, 90s, 100s, you're living, my man. So that is good news there, Stacy. It's Friday, as John says. That is good news. Timothy says good news. Fired the old bass player. Auditions start tonight.
Bass player.
I was thinking bass fishing.
The fisherman in you's got bass on the mind.
I love me some fishing. I started planning the old honeymoon because I'm getting married. Best believe we're going somewhere where you can reel in another Cubera snapper right there. Let's see here. Good news is on the NBA hot streak this week on BetMGM. There you go, Noah.
Let's go.
It's working. That's awesome. Well, you know what? We'll send this. I'll take a little screenshot. We'll send that to our BetMGM guys. They love that. They always love to hear feedback. So good news, good news, good news. Aaron says, good news, had a great workout yesterday afternoon at Planet Fitness. Broke new record, 3.96 miles. So running there. Big Ten Jeff says, good news, all of our Airbnbs booked up for Italy. So he's going to Italy right there to eat some pasta. Sam, you got good news?
I do have good news. It's bad news that is now good news because I had to move about a week ago today. I had to move. Moving is bad news. It's not fun. It is tiring. My forearm, I couldn't feel my forearms for a couple days. I'm on like the second floor of my building. So it's upstairs with, carrying furniture all day. My good news is that I'm done and that I'm finally like moved in and settled into the new place. And that feels pretty good. It's nice to be like, okay, breath of fresh air. The lease has started. We're settled into this place for a little bit and I can relax and not have to worry about the chaos and the cluster that is moving because it was a long weekend for me last weekend.
Yeah, it sounds like that. So I'm going to switch my good news. Instead of the weird good news, I'm going to switch my good news. My good news is actually I'm going like serious sentimental per se, because this is something that means something to me. Yesterday, I found out, so one of my best friend's little brothers passed away of an overdose last year. And he was in his mid-20s. He had struggled with addiction for some time. And I found out yesterday that him and his family are creating a fish fry charity event in his honor. So his name is Walker Clayton. One of my good friends is John Clayton, his older brother. And so we are in some way at A to Z Sports going to support that cause in some way, shape, or form. And I'll find out some more details so we can promote it, so we can affect and help, because he struggled with addiction for some time and unfortunately passed away on Thanksgiving here, in the last, year or so. And it's, I think about him. He was a great dude and it is unfortunate, but I just found out yesterday they said they're doing a fish fry. So that was good news. And I saw that randomly on the internet. So that makes it, I think, nobody told me about it. I saw it on my own accord. So that's something that A to Z Sports, am going to make sure that we support this cause and charity, because so many people struggle with that type of stuff that don't get talked about enough. So fish fry. So I'll update the fine folks and the fans all around A to Z Sports as we continue on. And I know more information, but that's my good news.
Awesome. Yeah. Sam says here, can we donate individually? So that'll be some of the details, I'm guessing, that you kind of.
Yeah. Again, I found out this last night. So A to Z Sports is going to sponsor it in some way. So I'll make that happen and you'll hear more about that. So awesome. But I appreciate the support, Sam. I think that's something that that we, and this is again, on another note, A to Z Sports as a company, and Austin and I will make sure of this. We've got to do more of our part of flexing our community for good things, for good causes like this. And so we're going to do that in the future for our company. You guys have supported us in so many different ways to help us grow. And so in 2023, it's January, I will make that a point and a promise to our community to give you guys the ability to help support and kind of tee up really good organizations and charities that are helping good causes to help our community and help other people. So that's what's going to happen. So I was going weird and now I'm going serious. I think this ends the Friday on a very good note.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing to end on. Pretty damn good news right there. So I think that a loaded week, a packed week, even busier day to come, but that ends things pretty on a positive note right there. So I love that.
All right, Sam, get ready, get your questions ready, get your notepad ready. High noon. Sam will be live after Ran Carthon's introductory press conference. He will be live at St. Thomas Sports Park. Live notifications on. React with Sam. That's going to be a fun show. And we will see you. Well, I will see you on Monday. I'm watching playoff football all damn weekend. That's what I'm doing. All damn weekend.
That's the best weekend of the year, divisional weekend, in my opinion. This is a fun weekend.
Absolutely. Subscribe for more Titans coverage on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page. Follow us on Instagram. Do all of that good stuff. And we will see you when we see you. Adios.